The idea of bouncing forward is really about being able to learn quickly and adapt. So in sport, basketball, you get knocked down, you have to get back up quickly. You miss a shot, you're going back down the other way and to play defense. And so in sport, you actually don't have a lot of time to think through everything that went wrong. You have to see what happened, assess based on what the goal was, and then bounce forward quickly. So the idea of bounce forward is how do we assess what happened and then move forward from it and have designated times to have more in-depth conversations because you have halftime, you have post-game to have those more in-depth conversations about what happened.
Welcome back to Team Lab, reimagining the way we work. It's Corey, and typically on this show, we're dissecting the impact of top-down corporate leadership, figuring out new approaches to build more collaborative team cultures with top advisors, facilitators, and executives. But today, we're stepping out of the C-suite and onto the court, because sometimes the best leadership insights come from outside the office walls. And our guest today offers a perspective we know you'll appreciate. Angela Lewis is a former NCAA Division I and professional basketball player who transitioned her talent for coaching on the court into a powerhouse career building leadership frameworks for organizations. She's an author, a mentor for young women leaders, and the creator of the 6V framework, a system designed to move teams of all stripes from valley to victory. Now, in this conversation, we explore the foundations of successful team culture, why creating team rituals is so critical for success. We also dive into the microdoses of feedback that corporate leaders are missing out on. Angela also shares a concept she calls the go for it muscle, a game changer for anyone waiting to feel ready before they lead. So many great topics. Let's welcome Angela Lewis into the lab. Welcome, Angela Lewis.
Thank you. Thank you, Corey and Angela. Thank you so much for welcoming me. Excited about this conversation today.
We are super excited to have you here. And, this is a different episode for us as having a guest who's not fully in the corporate world. We're thrilled to have you talk about your beginnings in sport and specifically with basketball, and how can you bring in some of those specific experiences that you've had coaching teams with some of the work that you do with corporate teams. So help us connect those dots.
Sure. So basketball is something that I never intended. And so I think a lot of times the same is true when we end up on roles on different teams. Someone sees something in us and they say, hey, I think you'd be great for this position, or I think you'd be great for this opportunity. So that's what happened with me in basketball and happened later on with different leadership opportunities that I had. So I never intended on playing, ended up playing NCAA Division I, playing professionally, coaching, but then having leadership roles in different types of organizations, which we'll dive into here. And so all of that has really led me to uncover a framework that really helps people understand how to best lead and help organizations grow.
Share with us one of those lessons learned. Let's start with, you said it happened to you at 12. If we can start from there, and then how much of that was a casual thing versus, something that I'm pretty sure later on became something that you wanted because it was you made a career out of it. Yeah, let's start from the beginning.
I was coming out of a store one day and was asked if I played basketball from someone who was a coach. I'm 6'1". I've been this tall since I was 12 years old, and they needed tall girls on the team. So he instantly saw that there was potential, which often happens in the workplace. Maybe someone does really well on a report, or maybe they're entry level and they're really great at their job, and someone says, oh, I think you'd be better for this next role. So I go and play on this team. What I didn't know, and I think this was what made it special, is the team was very competitive. There were already winners, and the coach had an incredible track record of coaching great players and building winning teams. And so that experience really taught me the importance of culture. So it was a culture of winning. So if you have an opportunity to be on a culture of winning, that is helpful. And then also they worked really hard and had fun at it. So although it was a youth team, some teams aren't fun. Like they competed really hard, worked really hard, but enjoyed the process and then were very successful. And that helped me understand how the culture and the environment really impacts the overall experience and your perception of that particular industry or that particular organization.
Hmm. What are the qualities of a culture of winning? What did you see?
There's honesty in feedback. And so this particular coach and different organizations that I've worked with, the greatest leaders that I've worked with, they were candid and you knew that they cared about you. So they communicated in a way like that allowed you to better understand, okay, we can get a little bit better at this particular area. So maybe it's the email copy that isn't quite up to par for the marketing campaigns. So they're really candid about it. So that's one thing. The second thing is everyone on the team feels like their voice is important and matters to the culture of the team. So that's key. And then the third thing for us for winning is we knew where we wanted to go. So there was a very clear vision for us at that time, for that team. It was going to the national tournament for that that was my first team environment. For another team, it may be getting so many customers or clients or having a great event if you're part of a marketing team in another organizations that I've been a part of. We've had these massive events with Speaker Hub and actually executing and getting over 1,000 people to attend the event was a really big deal for us.
Yeah. And it's interesting when you talk about teams having the ability to have their voices heard, feeling psychologically safe on the team to speak up.
Yes.
I was looking back at, some of your work, your writing, and you described sort of being confident on the court, but a little bit unsure, maybe off the court. So how do you see confidence being a booster for people or something to work on to be able to stand up for themselves?
I love the conversation around confidence because confidence isn't a blanket. And I think we meaning like in general, talk about it as a blanket. Either you're confident or you're not. There are certain areas in my life where I'm incredibly confident, right here speaking. But if you ask me to play golf, I'm not very confident. If you ask me to run a Facebook ads or ads campaign, I'm not confident. And it's okay to not be confident is where I've landed on this conversation around confidence. Certain areas of our lives and certain skills that we have, we can be confident in. So to your point, I was really confident in school. I did well academically, but when I first started playing sports, I wasn't confident because I needed to learn and develop the skills. And I think sometimes it's kind of like confidence shaming. Like you should be confident all the time in everything. Well, no, that's not really fair to ourselves. So in the workplace, it looks like someone being confident, being able, if they're great at email copy, at writing the copy, but maybe they're not. So that's privately, but publicly, they're not confident about expressing it to everyone in the organization and sharing the bigger vision or plan. So I think confidence is okay to be confident, and it's okay to not be confident sometimes because in some aspects you really shouldn't be.
Yeah. What you were saying made me think of talent. And there's always a conversation in the workplace around talent. Is it nature? Is that nurture? And going back to your experience, I mean, you were 6'1" at 12 years old. You pretty much found yourself after that on the basketball court. And it wasn't maybe even your decision. Someone kind of hinted that you would be good. But then you went there and a natural proclivity, your height, then was leveraged, to your advantage, of course. What else was there? Because it's like, do you really need to love the game, or just because you're tall, you can't succeed? How much is nature and how much is actually practicing that talent and growing into that talent?
It's a great question. And both are important. For me, being tall helped, but I still had to work, and I have older brothers who played as well, who helped me. So I had extra help we can call it tutoring or mentoring. Really, it's mentoring and people who showed me exactly how to improve faster. So what my brothers gave me was a leg up, and I was able to improve at a much faster rate, which is what we see when someone is new in a role. If you can get into, I have a mentee and she's a part of a rotational program. Her ability to advance, and it's a leadership rotation program. So her ability to advance in her organization is going to happen exponentially faster because of the mentoring that she's receiving versus someone else who doesn't have that experience. So yeah, thank you for asking that. It's a combination of putting in the work and having the mentors to make sure you're putting in the right work.
Yeah. And going back to what you were saying earlier and get the feedback of how you're doing. This is one reason why I love this parallelism of the sport with leadership, because athletes know and teams in sport know that they need a great coach. They need really good feedback right there, right then. When they do something, they mess up, how to improve. So we're all okay with that. But in the workplace, we don't seek that. We're not seeking that feedback as immediate as much. What do you think is that? Why leaders don't want the feedback that a great coach gives you to improve?
So in the sports context, the feedback happens very often in micro doses. You're in practice and you mess up playing defense and your coach tells you immediately you need to put your hand in the lane to deny the pass, right? You get it immediately. Often we're in silos in front of our computers, so it's very challenging to give feedback immediately, and it often ends up waiting to quarterly reviews, or maybe you meet with your manager on a monthly basis, but it's definitely not day to day, moment to moment feedback. And so when you get it can be a bit more devastating than actually, in the sports context. But it could be better. I think it's possible to have better feedback loops for sure.
Yeah, it's got to be a happy medium because, right, you wouldn't be in a big meeting with your manager and you said something and they're like, that's wrong. Right? Okay. You've got to have some sort of, yeah, do it again. Yeah.
I was going to say some of the leaders that I've worked with in the past have done a really good job of giving feedback to the entire group and then pulling the person aside and saying, okay, here's something that we need to work on, or giving a resource that reinforces the skill that needs to be developed, whether it's with the email copy, or I was in a fundraising position one time, which is basically sales, and we had a conversation around the best strategy, and then here's some resources to help you. So the feedback can come as an actual conversation, or here's a resource to help you improve on that skill, which is still coaching and using the resource to help.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned team culture, and we want to help teams get to that level where they feel like part of something. The team it's like there's an essence, and especially winning teams, right? So help us unpack how to get there, to get to that level. What do these teams need to have?
One thing that teams need to have is trust. I mean, that is the foundation of everything else that we can build upon, and that trust is embedded in the values of the team. So even if it is nice when the values are stated explicitly, but if they're not stated explicitly, then the day-to-day culture, the ways in which people communicate, the response time, all of that lends itself to understanding what the culture is. The other thing is a shared vision. So we all have the same goal in mind, whether that's a revenue goal or the goal for this particular event if you're in like a marketing department. So that's key. And then the last thing is, I would say, the feedback as well. Being able to give honest feedback and then see change implemented really makes a difference on winning teams.
Right. And especially when you've been a winning team, but suddenly it's a tough season, right? We've got a lot of, in the corporate world right now, there's a lot of disruptors happening. I know you talk a lot about your bounce forward philosophy in terms of resilience. Can you talk a bit about that and some of the parallels that you see between having an athlete with a resilient mindset, and how does that kind of parallel with someone who's working in a marketing team?
The idea of bouncing forward is really about being able to learn quickly and adapt. So in sport, basketball, you get knocked down, you have to get back up quickly. You miss a shot, you're going back down the other way and to play defense. And so in sport, you actually don't have a lot of time to think through everything that went wrong. You have to see what happened, assess based on what the goal was, and then bounce forward quickly. So the idea of bounce forward is how do we assess what happened and then move forward from it, and have designated times to have more in-depth conversations, because you have halftime, you have post-game, to have those more in-depth conversations about what happened.
Yeah. And the speed to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It I see teams in sports do this exceptionally of moving past the setback or the disappointment of losing a game, losing the championship, and here they go again, and they come back stronger, and then they win the next game. What is the secret of bouncing back so fast that other leaders and teams can adopt?
Who's on your team is important. So I'm a big believer in people play best with people they respect, they trust, and they know are willing to work to make the team better. Right. So if you're on a team of a bunch of selfish people, it's incredibly hard to bounce forward quickly because everyone's thinking about me. If you're on a team with people who I have your best interests in mind, I had teammates. We loved being on the court together. I know that we are going to play well. I'm going to be able to give her honest feedback. She's going to give me honest feedback. And no matter what happens, we're going to be okay. And we don't always get that in work environments, knowing that we're going to be okay no matter what happens. And that's the heart space and mindset that's needed in order to bounce back quickly and weather those seasons and storms that are going to come inevitably. Whether you have a selfish team or you have a giving team, everyone's going to go through something.
Just going to ask about, that whole dynamic of, speaking at that dynamic from a coach's perspective, right? You've got to actually have the right skills to fill the positions, right? You don't want someone in post who's 5'6". So you've got to have the right players with the right skills, and then also mold everyone to have the right overall mindset, the right purpose. Everyone's rowing in the same direction. There's lots of mixed metaphors there. So
it's okay. That's all.
Pick your
I've got all the sports in here. But from a coach's perspective, what do you recommend there? As
a coach, having an honest assessment of your team and knowing where your deficiencies are. So when I coached, we knew that if our point guard wasn't best in terms of who we're going to play against, then we needed to find a way to buffer that. So maybe we bring the other guard up and they can share the position of bringing the ball up the court. Or maybe we run a different play because it's actually not going to work because our strength is in another area. And so I think it's important to know the strengths and weaknesses of the people on your team or areas of improvement so that you can compensate for them in another way. So maybe someone else needs to pick up in that area and you have that conversation and other people can supplement for that.
Yeah. I love what you said about knowing the strengths and the weaknesses, because Corey and I talk about a system. The team is a system, and then the other teams around that team are all parts of this system. And so for the leader to have the ability to see in what way I can coordinate these plays, right? And that could be the plan for the quarter. I can coordinate so that I leverage the strengths and then people can learn from each other. That is so key. That's what came to mind for me. Yeah.
Yes. Angela, I love that point about learning from each other. The idea that learning has to come from the manager or only comes from that learning can't come from your teammates is something that I think should be talked about more. If there's someone who is exceptional at marketing or someone who's exceptional at sales, then how do we ensure that we're all learning and growing together? It's really important.
Yeah. How do you make competition healthy?
How do you make competition healthy?
So that it's generative and don't fight with one another, but actually there's a way that they can leverage each other's potential in a better way, because I want to be as good as you, or better, but in a positive way for a team.
How do we make competition healthy? We talk about this often with my teammates, and it's you go in and you compete with each other in order to help each other get better so that we can compete with someone else. So the person we're competing with has to be bigger than this team. Maybe it's our competitor in the market. Maybe it's an ideology that we're competing against, and we're all working together to help win. So the team winning still has to be central. But some people just are just more competitive than others. What is healthy competition? Because I know that people will still, at the end of the day, people have their best interests in heart. People are going to do what's best for them by and large. And it takes time to build a culture where people believe in something bigger than themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do we make competition healthy is, first we have to define what healthy competition looks like. And then the team has to be in agreement that this is what healthy is. And from there we can create the systems within the company to ensure it.
Yeah.
I know that's not a direct
Yeah.
answer, because I think there's so many variables that impact that.
No, it's great.
Yeah, and
Corey,
I think also the idea of the leaders or the coaches having a common definition or idea of what healthy competition is amongst themselves before they talk to their players. Because we all know we've had coaches, we've had bosses who were not super healthy themselves. So how could they, of course, they're going to potentially foster an environment on the team where people are competing for a spot. And it's maybe not super healthy. I don't want to say toxic, but it can get to that point.
It can.
Yeah. What's the cost of that, right? Because if you win, if we're in a win-lose situation dynamic, then that is not healthy competition. You win, but I lose. That's not healthy competition for me. But if we are all, and I love what you said earlier, to have a common vision, common goal, right? And if we're all doing our best in service of that common goal, then it's a different story, right? Then it's more the collaboration to how to get there. This is the spirit of the team. It's not about me, it's about we. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And it's the values, right? So this is the 6V framework. And so I discovered this while going from not being very good and being in this valley. So it's really, how do we get from valley to victory? Those are the 6V framework. So when we're in this valley, these challenging times, the question is, how did we get here? It's the honest assessment. How did we get here? What steps did we take to get in this situation? We can look at our KPIs and see that we didn't meet the marks. And then we have the vision. Okay, so here's where we are. Where do we want to go? What's the next level for us? What areas do we need to improve upon? We create this shared vision, and then the voices. So what are we saying? And this is something that often gets overlooked, is actually that's the mindset. That's how we approach each other. That's how we communicate about whatever issue that we're facing. Framing that in a way that creates an alignment with the vision is key. And the next part is the value. So we can have this great vision. We can all say, oh, yes, I want to do it. But are we doing the things that are going to get us there? So, for example, if I wanted to play college basketball and I'm a high school kid, but I don't want to run or eat healthy, well, then my values aren't in alignment with what it's going to take to get there. I actually have to do the things, even if we don't want to do it. If this is where we're going, we have to send the emails. We have to make the phone calls. We have to do the things to get us there. The next level is volunteering. And this is kind of, Angela, what you talked about earlier, is how do we help each other? What do I know that can inform someone else? What do I know that can help the team grow? And how can we make sure that we're sharing information? And then victory. And not with a big V, but with a little v. The little v is making sure we're tracking the small wins that ensure that we're building the confidence that we can, in fact, get to the big goal that we're going after. And so we're in the valley. We create this new vision from the valley. We are conscious of our voices and the voices that we're taking in. We make sure our values align. We're volunteering, so we're giving to each other what we know, and then making sure we're tracking these small victories to get to the big goal. So that's the 6V framework.
This framework, yeah.
Awesome.
We'll share in the show notes. It's a practical way to understand the dynamics
Simple.
in the system, and know better once you know better.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go over, we touched upon it with resilience, but I want to go deeper into the concept of people are tired, people are fatigued because of everything that is going on. We don't have to go over it. And how do you motivate the team when there is this sense of defeat?
How do you motivate when there's a sense of defeat? Acknowledging that there's a sense of defeat. Everyone knows it. Like, we know when the culture is not going well. Everyone sees people being laid off. Everyone knows that there is a level of uncertainty. And the first thing is, be a human. Like, I understand as a leader, I understand what you're going through. So acknowledging, I know this is a tough time. I know that people are tired. And we still care about you as a person. Who you are as a person is the most important thing. So having an open space, having an open culture to say, I really care about you. I'll give you an example. We have some people on our team who live in Venezuela. Venezuela has gone through tremendous political turmoil recently. We would be on a call, lights would go out. And we got people generators. And let them know we're aware of what's happening, especially if you're on a global team. I mean, there's so much happening. So just saying, I know that you're human first, because we don't know what these relationships are going to look like 5-10 years from now. That's why it's really important, especially when people are burnt out and things are hard, to be kind and treat people well, because you do not know what the future holds. And so acknowledge it, see if you can help in any way, and then provide a space for people to be open about it while still saying we still have to get things done, because this is still work. So we can't just stop.
What a great way to create that team culture that we were talking about, of we're in this together, we take care of each other, we help one another. Yeah.
And that's good motivation anyway, is if you know the people on the other side, whether you're on Zoom or across the desk, if they care about you, you're going to want to be there for them.
Yes,
and
because you're going to need someone to be there for you one day. It's inevitable. We all go through things. And oftentimes we spend more time working with people than with our own families.
Yeah. It reminds me of some conversations that we had on the show with people talking about vulnerability, when the leader shows, a human aspect and something that they're going through, it's going on in their life. All of a sudden, the connection, the bond that you create with the team, it's magic,
It is. It is, because we get caught up in tasks. So being task oriented moves businesses forward. You need tasks, but you also need that social component where you're really getting to know people and understanding that everyone has things that they're dealing with, and no one's immune to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe that is one of the secrets of the team. We know for a fact, because we all, in this conversation, we all been with teams getting together and getting to know each other on that human side, even with teams at work. So it makes me think how important that is. You see the sports teams, they travel together, they share rooms in hotels, they go to camp to get ready for the seasons. They spend a lot of times outside of the plane together. And it's like, why do work teams and people in the business don't do the same?
It definitely requires extra effort on the business side to get together and to build that camaraderie. I remember when I played basketball in college, one of my teammates is from New Washington, Indiana, this small town. I'm from the city of St. Louis. So we come from, in the States, very, very different worlds. And I went to visit her, and her parents lived on like 5 acres, and we drove the riding lawnmowers, which I'd never seen before. But we bonded, and we're still close to this day because I took out the time to actually go and enter her world. And so for as much as we can do that in our business lives, that's important as well, to really get to know people beyond what they're doing in their roles.
See them, they're people.
Well, one of the things that I read, one of your missions out there is learn, grow, and give. And so we talk about getting to know teams and building trust. And we are also very interested in how can teams create rituals to keep those bonds strong and to keep the trust and predictability and vulnerability as well. But they have to have something pretty consistent in terms of a team ritual. So what if you turned that idea of learn, grow, give, kind of your mission into a team ritual? What might that look like?
What that might look like is learning about individuals. So actually having time set out weekly or monthly for someone to actually share about who they are and that things that you wouldn't typically know about them just from working with them. And then being able to have that consistently and have time together where you're able to just really get to know each other. So in learning, when we learn about each other, we're able to grow closer. We're able to learn deeper and grow more. And because our communities are so diverse, you're able to really explore in a way that maybe you wouldn't have time outside of work. And then giving is really key. It's creating a culture where either I've seen organizations where you actually serve community together. So I've worked with a nonprofit where we worked with all these different corporations that came and they would, on a given day, everyone in the organization would go out into the community and serve together. And that helps build bonds as well. So creating learning, an environment where we're learning about each other, where we're growing together, and then we're actively giving as well. It's so powerful.
Yeah. Angela, you work with young women leaders, and we care very much about young generations entering the workplace and especially entering leadership. What are some coaching advice that you can give these young future leaders in the workplace?
The advice that I have for young leaders in the workplace, the first is be resourceful. So try to find the information prior to asking for help immediately, because a lot of times if you don't know the information, it's okay to not know, but go seek the information on your own first and then go try to find it. So be resourceful. The second thing is ask for help when you need it, because you're not going to know everything. So don't be ashamed to ask for help. Once you've tried and you still haven't figured out, it's okay. Every leader knows that you don't know everything. Like, you're there to learn and to grow. And the third piece I would say is expand and build your network through service first. You do not know why someone crossed your path and how they're going to show back up in the future. And you'd be surprised how small the world is as you continue to advance in your professional career. So connect with people genuinely, authentically, and stay connected, because you just do not know.
Is there any of these advices specific to women?
Specifically for women, I would say speak up more, speak up often. And it's okay if you're wrong. Like, you'd be surprised how often guys just say stuff. So you don't have to be right all the time to give your opinion about something. It's okay to say, this is what I believe, and you're able to back it up. That doesn't necessarily mean, even if your manager doesn't use your idea, it doesn't mean that it's a bad idea. Maybe they're considering other things in their decision making, but be willing to put yourself out there. We shy away so often from opportunity because we don't feel ready. Just go for the things as much as possible. Going for it is a muscle that you build. You have to build the go for it muscle. I just made that up. I have never said that before. I don't know where that came from.
That's so great.
I don't know where that came from. You have to build the go for it muscle, because if you go 10, 15 years in your professional career and you don't try it, then you're not going to know. You're not going to build the confidence in knowing that you can actually implement the initiative that you thought of, that you see can help the organization. Remember this: when you give your opinion about what needs to happen, be prepared to execute on it. Leaders hate when people say we should do this and we should do that, but they're presenting a problem without a solution. Present a problem and have a potential solution to it. It may not be the one they go with, but at least you're not just complaining about what's wrong. You actually have an idea of how you can help. Yeah, but build that go for it muscle.
And take the initiative, yeah.
Yes.
Such a parallel back with sports. I mean, you're leaving it all out on the court. right?
Yes, leave
You're
it
going.
all out there. And you know what, Corey, give yourself, for young women, give yourself a chance to get better. It When you start a role, you're not going to be great. You're going to be competent, of course, because that's why they hired you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's give yourself time to develop new skills. Don't expect yourself to have it all figured out in the first 2 years of your role. You can grow and take the learning opportunities, but it takes time to
Yeah.
grow in competence. And that's okay. It's actually normal.
Yeah. Thank you for offering us an opportunity to just isolate women. We don't do this
Yeah.
at all in this podcast. So we go by generations, but never by gender. So, but it's near to my heart to empower women and to help, especially young women, to build that
Yes.
confidence. The go for it muscle. I love it.
Yes. Yes. It's so key. I have one more thing that I want to mention about this. There's a young lady that I mentor, and she's starting a business, and she was a college volleyball coach. And she said, well, they told me that because I coached, I need to stop talking about volleyball and just focus on being a business person. So she was told to drop a portion of her identity, something that was really important to her that she accomplished, in order to now be something new. And I think young women, we feel like we have to like change and be a new person when we go into these new roles. No, take all of the goodness. I told her, no. That's why you are competent to do this business. So take the things that you're great at already and stack on top of it. That's why keeping a little pocket of wins is important. You keep stacking on top of it, and you're going to build just a lifetime, a career that is phenomenal when you continue to go for it. You don't have to stop doing anything that you were really good at, that gave you power.
Well, I love the title of your book is The Game-Changing Assist, one of your many books. And I just love that metaphor from sport into working with your teammates or your stakeholders in an organization. Can you talk a little bit about, you've maybe stacked all of your value and your knowledge and your power as an individual, but how can you be an assist to your stakeholders and your coworkers?
Thank you for asking that. No one's ever asked that. I'm so glad you asked that. So the game-changing assist is about literally being able to take the best of who you are, share it with someone else, and it changes everything for them. So one, you have to be aware of where someone else is. So if I am, basketball metaphor, if I am running the fast break down the middle of the court and my teammate is on the wing and there is a defender right next to them, I can't pass her the ball. She's not open. She is not in a position to succeed. So I can't give this opportunity to her or share this lesson with her at this time. So you have to be aware of where people are. An assist only works when someone is in a position to score. So as a leader, as a stakeholder, as a teammate, if I am paying attention to others and not only myself, I am looking to help other people grow and looking to help them win. And when they have the competence, the confidence, and the willingness to go after it, then we can give them the ball and we set them up, and it changes everything for them. So thank you for asking that.
Yeah. So good.
Fabulous example for how people in the workplace can help each other.
Yes, look for people who are ready in motion. Like the assist only works when people are in motion. You don't get assists just standing around looking off into the sky. Like you can't get set up for success that way.
Well, Angela, where can people find more about you and get in touch with you?
You can find more about me. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to chat. Angela R. Lewis. And then my website is angelarlewis.com. Would love to connect.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you all so much for having me. This was wonderful.
Thank you for listening. As we wrap, I want to pull out the thread that keeps showing up in Angela Lewis' stories, even when she is talking about basketball. Winning teams are built on systems. They're not just talent. It's not just about working hard. They are in systems that allow them to win. Angela named it really plainly. These systems are made of trust, a shared vision, and honest feedback loops. And I keep thinking about how rare the last one is at work. In sport, feedback is constant. In tiny doses, day after day, is designed to help you get better in real time. In the workplace, we often wait, and then the feedback lands heavy or not at all. And we have forgotten we're not in that moment anymore. And then there's her idea of bouncing forward. I particularly love this idea. We're not bouncing back because really we're not going back to the way it was. Her idea of bouncing forward means that we're trying to get to a place where we can be better. You're learning fast, you're adapting, you're moving through the setback as a team, and you bounce forward, you spring forward to a place where you're better than ever. And she was honest about the hidden ingredient. It's really hard to recover quickly when the team is selfish, when people don't trust each other, or when the culture feels unsafe. There is about a hero culture or an ego culture, like we call it at Team Lab. The team is not thriving in that environment. The team thrives when there is a we culture, when we're here for each other, when we know that together we make the strongest person in the room. Before you go, I want to leave you with an inquiry. You know me, I always give you one to take home. A reflection on what would a game-changing assist look like in your team this week? Remember, Angela's definition was very sharp. An assist only works when someone is ready, in motion, and in position to score. Maybe it's just noticing the timing. Maybe it's just looking back and seeing who is charged forward and is going to be ready for that assist. Sharing a resource, giving feedback sooner, or putting the right person in the right position so the team can move. Pick one. Keep it small, make it real. If this episode brought something up for you, please share it with a teammate, because the best insights don't live in our heads or on our desk. They change the system when we talk about them. Thank you for being here in the Team Lab podcast. See you next time.